You know, let's see what we do. Let's get to 975. We went from 925 maybe, I think, for the year before to 975 in budget. Is that right? For budget. It's on Kenny's worksheet.
918 was the budget.
918, thank you, Kenny. 918, and you know, Sanders' perspective was that it would probably bring in 60 grand going from Medicare 80 to 120, if my memory serves me correctly. So we went to 975 last year. Because of the turfed runs, because of the fact that we're losing a portion of the SAFER grant and not having that this year, the administration said 900. Could we have gone to 850? Perhaps. Could we have gone to 825? Perhaps. Not having any additional overtime budget in the, you know, any additional staffing or overtime in the budget. We said 900, and we cut it back by 75,000 in fiscal year 12. We did not take into consideration any additional funds for Medicare plus 200, to answer your question.
Father brought up a good point, and we'll get a little clarity on here about service. Woolpot, good service?
I believe so.
Okay. The fact that we don't have one of the ambulances running, still good service? Do they know their way around the streets of Gloucester?
I can't speak to that, honestly. I don't know their employees.
Were you partly responsible for hiring this outfit?
Absolutely.
Okay, so, and you don't know that question?
I certainly consider them to be adequate as a backup ambulance.
Okay, because we're talking about revenue here. Now we've touched on something completely different. It's about service now.
Absolutely right.
Okay, so I'm asking you a question. Are they
They are clinically capable.
Okay.
Yes, they are clinically capable. They do have an additional response time allocation, because as a backup service, we need to allow that they may have higher response times, partly due to their base location, but also keep in mind that a private service is not like a municipal service, and that those ambulances have to be out there running and making money to be profitable. And so it's possible that they have to juggle ambulances to make somebody to get an ambulance available for a call. So there is the possibility, and actually, typically their run times are within an acceptable margin for a backup service.
Okay.
Steve, so you'll know that when they stabilize you in Addison, you're going to be transported. Those are the ambulances transporting to Beverly. So when they're all there and their ambulance are out there, we're stuck.
$200,000, 205 exactly, a little bit more write-off you presented to us tonight. We'll get into that a little later. Is that for, what fiscal year is that for? Or is that a combination of multiple fiscal years?
It's a compilation based on a write-off report that we get from our billing company, our current billing company, Gloucester. Again, we'll get more into that with the billing and collection policy, but that's based on a compilation over the past few years. And what I didn't bring that up with me. It's still back at the table. But essentially, our write-offs, as recommended by the billing company, Comstar, accumulate over a period of years. After, well, not so much a period of years, but a period of months. After all conventional collection techniques have been utilized. It does bear reporting now that we are shifting our billing company. It will no longer be Comstar. As of July 1st, it'll be a company called Intermedics. It's a big national company. We're their second contract in the state of Massachusetts. Their first contract is Boston EMS. I do believe that they intend to get us a bit of a higher rate of return. How much higher? 1%, 2%, 3%, whatever it is. Hopefully a bit higher. I think that they'll probably do a little bit better job than Comstar.
The last 3 years, we've written off. What did we write off last year?
What did we write off? I think it was 130 something, 160 something, 136.
And the year before was the large amount, wasn't it?
The year before was the one that we hadn't done right. We hadn't done any write-offs, so we had this gargantuan
635,000.
This gargantuan unaccountable debt just sitting there mucking up the books, and we had to do a huge write-off to clean it up. Yeah. Right.
Well,
That's not the city's fault.
no, I'm not. No, this is just, I'm just fetching
I
information.
understand too, those write-offs aren't just because we didn't collect, it's also
No,
because
it's
we
real.
don't have insurance.
Insurance.
Now, the economy's
Deceased,
changed, the
no.
economy's changed back then, don't
The
forget.
point I'm getting across is that this is not a sure thing. We don't collect 100%. Okay. Never will. I guess you've got a point of view. You understand their point of view. The auditor's got a point of view. We have a point of view, and they're all different. The recommendation was last week when we had this discussion that there was a possibility of maybe thinking that the administration may go out and bring in an independent company to do an independent review. Took it a step further, and some people would think that that review was in the hands of the administration to be secured, to give them the information that they want secured. So I believe in that. Me as one counselor, I believe in that. I think it'd be a great idea for somebody from the administration, somebody from the fire department, and maybe somebody from the city council to be on an independent review and have an independent company come in and put this all together. Because there are a lot of factors in here that we still have a part of it that we really haven't put into it. The minimum staffing, discretionary call-in time. Okay, is that in here? Really, is it in here in a sense? It isn't. So, as one counselor, I believe that may be the best avenue to go. And I don't know how long it's going to take. I don't know how this is going to affect next year's figures. Is that going to bring back 2 paramedics right now? How long do you think this will take, Jeff? Is the administration in the position to go ahead and move forward with that?
We would have to identify the concept, absolutely, as long as we all parties at the table agree, we can all agree on who will be that third-party independent consultant, you know.
Who are we gonna pay for it?
That was going to be the thing.
That's where we have to identify the funding source.
Is this something that we can move forward on pretty quickly instead of just sitting back on our heels like we do a lot of times? And I'm not saying the administration does that on a regular basis. I'm just saying sometimes it does happen. With other things
I think we need to identify a scope of services in order to be able to determine how expensive it's going to be, and then try and identify potential funding sources.
And will all parties be acceptable to what the conclusion would be?
I certainly wouldn't answer that without knowing what the conclusion is. I will tell you that I would put our EMS delivery system in this town up against anyone, no question. That being said, I would also refer the council, because there was a management audit done 2 years ago, if I'm not mistaken, in 2009, and EMS was considered as a part of the fire department management audit. And quite frankly, I'm pretty proud of that report. It's pretty darn good, and I think that that should be at least considered in the course of deciding whether to go to another third party. Not because I'm scared of a third party review. I'd relish it. I have absolutely no problem with anybody looking at us, because you know what? We're aces.
I don't think that looking at you as far as how well you do your job, I think it's more about putting the numbers together and to look if it's feasible to have more paramedics, or whether the city is, if they're wrong in not bringing back these paramedics. This is what I'm talking about.
I'm sorry, I just want it for the record again. This,
It has nothing to do with privatization.
I want to hear it louder. Say it again. No private ambulances. No private. If we're going to fund the money, and we're all going to look at it, because we're all saying money, we got to get. We got audited so many times, and we have these files there. And look at the management. They said with the ambulance. The ambulance is one of the things the fire department they encouraged in that audit. Encouraged us to use our ambulance to go forward. That was one of our money-making machines. And I hate putting money-making machines when it comes to life, but unfortunately the city is a business. Okay? As a healthcare advocate, the money that we eat, it's worth it because we save lives. As a city council, it's kind of hard because it's all taxpayers' money. But as long as we don't privatize, I don't care. Where you get the money, what you want to do, it's know what it's going to tell you? That you wasted $25,000 to get an ambulance, to tell you the same thing that we've been telling you, that it's a money-making machine. Add a little money, you get a lot more.
Jeff, I have a question for you. Several times this evening you've said, you've used the word free cash, and I'm getting the impression that this budget was conservative, it's predicated towards creating free cash. Now, in the past administration, we always said if we got $1 in free cash, that would keep us in the black. But it seems to me that the way you're doing the analysis and the figuring, it seems to me that you're looking for more than $1, and so a lot of these conservative and a lot of these shortfalls are happening because the philosophy of this budget is free cash and as much as we can get.
I would say that in previous years, the philosophy was to get free cash. I would say this year, in fiscal year 12, it's to get by. I believe that, as I said in front of the B&F committee the other night, we have, when we looked at the revenues, we have $60 million in property tax collections. We don't collect $2 million of that each year. Excesses and all of the other items are what backfill that in order to pay for the 100% of the appropriations that we spend. Because we pretty much spend almost all of our appropriations because we short snow and ice every year. That's the solution, is to get snow and ice up to where it needs to be so that we don't have to keep robbing Peter to pay Paul every year. I'll say that for as long as I work here. We have to get to a snow and ice budget that represents an average of like a five-year average of snow and ice expenditures. When we get up to that, then we won't have to dig in to the police department, the Department of Public Works, the fire department every year to say, and to the school department and say, hey, we need money to solve our free cash issue. If we can get an average up there that gets up to like an average of a 5-year storm and keep it there, I think that we will have funds available each year with new growth and Prop 2.5 to fund the operations of the departments. But we're not there. And until we get there, I think we're going to struggle with this. Fiscal year 13 is not going to be a cakewalk. We have more charter school money coming our way in fiscal year 13. We have more pension in fiscal year 13. I don't think anybody in this room thinks, municipal contracts are going to take a hit and go down. We have raises, we have step increases, we have insurances. Fiscal year 13 is going to be as hard as fiscal year 12, with the exception of maybe for the schools, because they've kind of already felt that impact of losing the air funds in 12. They'll start to gain back each year as we, look towards Prop 2.5 and new growth, in the split that we typically try to do with the school. Until we get to that 5-year level, until we get snow and ice up to where it needs to be, we're going to continue to struggle in this community. I mean, I mentioned something totally crazy off the cuff, saying, want to do an override to get snow and ice up to where it should be. I said it half in jest, but then I started thinking about it more and more, saying that would make the most sense, is to make sure our snow and ice budget gets realistically funded. Or you do an override for something else, and you use the money that you had in another department to put up the snow and ice. However you do it, I don't care. But I mean, we're 500,000 short of where we need to be for, I'd say, a 5-year average of snow and ice. I've got $650 in the budget this year for snow and ice, an extra $50,000 more than last year. That's it, and that's cutting the school department $350,000. So,
My question was, when you put together the FY12 budget, your estimates of revenues are conservative,
yeah,
in the hopes of building up the free cash. Is that what happened?
No, that's not what I'm trying to do. That's not what I'm trying to do in fiscal year 12. In fiscal year 12, we're trying to get by and make sure that we don't have a revenue deficit in fiscal year 12. That's the key, is making sure that we have enough revenues to balance out what we raise and what we expect to get from all the other departmental incomes.
But, yes, tonight you mentioned free cash several times when it came to the budget, and that's why I'm putting the two together.
I think someone mentioned free cash. That's why I responded to it.
Mr. Chair, I'm sorry, I have one more point that needs to be made. Very brief. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. There is one more point that's particularly important to this discussion, and that's the licensure. Our ambulance license says that we will provide 2 ambulances 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The state is not aggressive about enforcing that with any ambulance, because any ambulance service may have some cause to drop below its, its license numbers, and they're not super aggressive about that. And I'm not really concerned about what's happening in these 3 months of the fourth quarter of